416 and a breakdown of North by Northwest. Like all the movies that we're going to see in this class, this film can be broken up into three acts, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's really quite simple. In the first act, Thornhill gets himself into trouble. In the second act, over a series of events, he gets himself out of trouble. And in the third act, he gets Eve out of trouble. Within those three acts, there are 5 plot points and 9 sequences, unlike the usual 8, and a structure that looks something like this, which is a little non-standard. But it really isn't as complicated as it first looks. All this chart shows is that this larger story can be broken up into 9 shorter stories or chapters. And the way those sequences are identified are pretty straightforward. We have sequence 1, which is about his abduction and escape. We have sequence 2, in which he tries to say that he's innocent and no one believes him. We have sequence 3, in which he tries to investigate Kaplan, but only makes things far, far worse when he is framed for murder. Then we have the long train sequence that has a nice beginning, middle, and end. We have the short but intense crop duster sequence. Then we have a sequence that's essentially about him and Eve in a hotel room, speaking in all sorts of subtext and ironies. Then comes the sequence set at the auction, and that ends the second act. The third act is made up of 2 sequences. The first, in which he fakes his death. The second, in which he helps Eve escape from the house, and then they are chased over Mount Rushmore. But all those pieces are fairly self-contained. They are little stories within stories with their own beginnings, middles, and ends. And within those scenes and sequences are more or less all the terms and concepts that we're going to be going over the course of this semester. So consider this video a kind of coming attraction for everything we're going to study over the course of the semester, or at least a little taste. Don't panic. You don't have to learn all of these terms and all of this stuff at once, but I figure you may want to review this video sometime down the line, like near the midterm. And I wanted to point out all the different things that it illustrates so well. It being the, movie, the Hitchcock movie, not this particular video. Let's begin with sequence 1 and the opening image. The first thing that the audience sees can set up a lot of important elements. In this case, it sets up the world. We're in an urban world where there are mobs of anonymous people moving in and out of buildings, in and out of subways, into buses. This is going to be important in this particular movie because this is the type of world in which people can easily be mistaken for somebody else, in which an individual can disappear into a crowd. We see this in the train station, especially when Thornhill, disguised as a red cap, can easily evade the police because they can't tell one red cap from another. Out of this world established by the opening image emerges our main character. The entrance gives us a powerful first impression of Roger Thornhill. He's charming, he's handsome, well-dressed and confident, and he doesn't take life too seriously. But the entrance also gives us essential exposition, and it gives it to us really quickly. Exposition is information that's essential for the audience to understand if they're going to participate in the story. Some of that exposition is straightforward. We have to understand that Thornhill is a heavy drinker if we're going to believe later on that he can be fed an entire bottle of bourbon and still be able to drive a car. But really good exposition tells you everything you need to know about a character in just one particular detail or particular incident. For example, when he tricks a bystander out of a cab, it's not just a clever joke and a clever way to get somewhere more quickly. He's also revealing that he is willing to play act and lie to get what he wants. This is going to be important because later on his mother is not going to believe him when he protests that he was kidnapped. This is also important because it speaks to the deeper theme of play acting that comes up again and again in the movie. Eve play acts, Van Damme play acts, Thornhill pretends to be Kaplan, and he's accused of play acting when he tries to be himself. So Thornhill is introduced as someone who is charming but less than perfectly honest, and we understand that it is his ability to play act that will allow him to survive the ordeals that are to come. So sequence one begins with this scene of rapid-fire exposition that sets up the character's status quo. This is his ordinary world. This is his day-to-day. And then minor miscommunication and a case of mistaken identity leads to the point of attack. The moment that Kaplan's life is first interrupted by that problem that will lead to the main tension of the rest of the movie. This is our first major plot point, and it's actually occurring much sooner than it does in most stories. So as Roger Thornhill is taken away, he immediately tries jumping for the door. This sets the tension we're going to feel throughout the rest of the sequence, which is, will he be able to escape or not? But after that, the tempo slows down. There's that long drive towards Townsend's mansion. There's the slow walk up the stairs, the lingering in the entranceway, and Thornhill is made to wait in the office. All of these are scenes of preparation, and scenes of preparation are meant to build anticipation as we wonder, who is this guy who has abducted him, and to give special emphasis to the eventual big entrance of the villain. A bunch of different tools are used in this scene. An activity is anything that a character does in a scene that isn't tied specifically to an objective that the audience actually cares about. However, look at the way Leonard offers a cigarette to his boss. Everything you need to know about their relationship is somehow embodied in that gesture. Meanwhile, Thornhill is indignantly proclaiming who he really is, giving us more exposition. And this is a strategy of burying exposition in conflict, where people have reasons for speaking the facts out loud. The whole scene is our first encounter with something that will be repeated again and again and again throughout the film, and that's dramatic irony. We know that Thornhill is telling the truth, but the antagonists do not know that. In fact, Thornhill is saying exactly what Kaplan would be saying if Kaplan really existed. When the antagonist reads Kaplan's itinerary out loud, he's actually advertising every single stop that Thornhill will make in subsequent scenes. And that's what advertising is for. It is to constantly direct the audience's attention towards the future and things that are going to come next. So when the antagonist says he's giving him the opportunity to survive the evening, he is advertising, as well as raising the stakes, because now Thornhill isn't just worried about getting to the theater on time, he's worried about living or dying. In this sense, Mrs. Townsend is not so much announcing dinner as she is advertising how many minutes Thornhill has to live. If you, as a writer or a filmmaker, want your audience to feel empathy for your main character, it's not enough to just have bad things happen to them. They have to do something about it. They have to try to escape. They have to struggle. They have to, at the last minute, show some sort of unsuspected resilience and then get away. All sequences are built around a particular tension, and so the sequence ends when the tension is resolved. All right, I'll end this video here, and in the next one, I'll do the next couple of sequences.